Hi guys, this is Simeon. In today's video I want to clear some things up, talk about some things. One great thing about a YouTube channel like this is that you can really discuss topics and you can exchange thoughts and topics, and you know, when people can do this in a civilized manner, I think it's very beneficial for both parties, because the one who claims something, in that case me, really has to think about if there's any basis for it, and the people that are maybe being challenged, they also have to think about their position and maybe even rethink it and see if there's a basis for why they do that. So today I want to pick up on a few things like that. One of the things, having the hot wire close to the water, and shared a few observations that I had made in nature. Somebody actually picked up on that and thought I had bad farming methods, which kind of caused me to make this video and talk about a few things. Again, I want to talk about the water, putting it close to the wire. This is something that we have done for a while, and Polyface Farm as well teaches this. I know on the Justin Rhodes channel, for example, they do the same thing. You just want to not have your cattle's manure in the cattle's water. It's both illegal and it doesn't work. Anyway, one comment I got on the video about this dairy farm with regenerative agriculture here in Sweden, somebody commented on my criticism towards conventional farming. Now, first of all, you have to understand that I went to farming school here in Sweden for 3 years. So that is my background, that is my education. And on that school they taught what I would call, it sounds kind of funny, but I would call conventional organic farming. Okay, because many people think that there is conventional farming and then there's organic farming, and that I do organic farming. I actually don't look at myself as an organic farmer in that sense, because you have conventional farming, then you have organic farming, which is also still a flawed approach to the whole thing. And what I do, I look at it as being very different. I have to say that very few things that I learned in those 3 years of school do I actually use today. So people have to understand that I come from that background where most of my friends actually had conventional farms, some had organic farms. I learned this organic industrial farming, but I've gone away from that and I'm doing this right now. And so you get a lot of criticism in this. One of the criticisms is, well, we cannot feed the world as it is, especially not with those methods. I actually had a journalist come and visit, and the journalist was, she was doing her job, and she was like saying, why do you want to do this if if all the farms in the world would be organic, we couldn't feed the world, and I was saying, well, I don't do organic farming in that sense. So people have to understand that. Conventional farming is not sustainable. Neither is the organic farming, which I would call conventional organic farming or organic industrial farming, however you want to call that, kind of making fun of it a little bit in that sense. That is not sustainable either. Now, why do we even have to talk about sustainability? The problem that we have with conventional farming is that it won't work, and it hasn't worked, and we can observe that. We have these big issues that it is creating, that the variety of insects is decreasing so much, the bees are dying, the pests are getting resistant against the poisons. We have to go stronger and stronger. The topsoils are going to be lost very soon, and all of that. There are a lot more problems to that, and also the healthy food that is being destroyed. We're not producing healthy food. So, but there are a few criticisms that farmers like I would get. So they say that my farming is not sustainable because of it not yielding enough. Well, let me tell you that pretty much everything I do here now was inspired originally by Polyface Farm in Virginia. And you know, I'm not here to say that they do everything right, and I'm not here to say that I do everything right, but I'm just saying that I have put some of their stuff to the test, and I found out that it's true, and I've adapted it to my circumstances. Now, Joel Salatin says that they have up to 5 times the production on their fields and pastures compared to all the conventional farmers around them. And he hasn't planted a seed or or bought a bag of chemical fertilizer in, I think he said, 30 years. So they produce so much more, and at the same time they have added 12 inches of topsoil, increased earthworms, increased all the insects and wildlife immensely. So that is only one example of how much better that it is, and they're feeding, 3,000 families now? And so you have had visitors come to that farm and look at it from third world countries, and they looked at it and said, this is something I can copy and just take with me into my situation. I can take the huge Tyson chicken house. So that is the first thing. Then the next thing is, well, your products are so expensive. You see, yes, my beef is more expensive than store-bought beef. My chicken is more expensive than store-bought chicken. But there are so many things that could be said about this. First of all, when I put a chicken fillet from the store in the pan, which I haven't done for years, and I use one of my chicken fillets, after cooking them, mine is heavier and denser. I'm not even talking about how healthy it is and all of that, but just the weight than the store-bought one, because half of it was water that disappeared. So actually, I end up paying less for my chicken anyway. But you see, there's so many things that could be said about this. Let me say that when you take the price per kilo or per gram or per 100 grams, or in the States it would be per ounce, look at all the processed food, all the cereals, all the candy bars, all the potato chips, all that stuff that people buy, all the sodas and everything that people buy, which is much more expensive than my pastured poultry or my grass-fed, 100% grass-fed cattle or beef. So it is a matter of priority. And here's what we have to understand is that, you know, you can't just say, oh, conventional agriculture puts the prices down, which is better for the customer and better for sales and better for feeding the world and all of that. You see, the thing is that somebody pays the price for the food. If it's not the customer, it is going to be the animal and nature, sometimes even the farmer who goes out of business. And, you know, I always say somebody has to pay the price for the egg. Either it's the chicken or it's you. And, you know, for most people, yeah, they want to buy all their processed food, but they're not willing to pay a little more for an egg, but say the chicken has to pay the price. And what they don't know is that their health also is paying the price. So, are we too expensive? No, it's a matter of priority, you know. You look at all the processed stuff. And then you also look at, for example, the corn industry, which is the basis for the entire processed food. And you look at that, and the government is basically paying so that that production even works. So you have that. Then, you know, people might look at my breeds and that I try to work with heritage breeds. Well, you know, if I had a certified butcher shop, I would for sure also raise pastured broilers even though I don't like it so much, but I think it's better that people eat my pasture broilers than if they would eat broilers raised in a Tyson chicken house. You know, people say that my cattle breed won't work. Well, that's a breed I chose right now. You can do the same thing with other breeds. I have lots of friends who do 100% grass-fed, and they use breeds that the industry uses, and it works great with certain breeds. For example, fläckvieh, how I call it in Sweden. Most people know it under the term Simmental. I think it comes from Switzerland, and it is a super good breed. Heavy breed, much bigger than my breed. And you know, you have to understand that this channel doesn't try to be political correct, and I don't try to claim that all I say is the non plus ultra, the ultimate truth, but it is my opinion. So I really like to have this discussion with people and talk about it, you know. So what I have experienced here now on my farm is that I harvest hay right now on this hay field, a permaculture field that hasn't been plowed for many years, that I've now had chickens on and rotating, that I've had mob grazed with the cows, and it is was twice the height of the neighbor's fields right now. I am actually harvesting at the same time that all the people are harvesting further south with chemical fertilizer. So that is just the beginning. I haven't maxed this out. I haven't had chicken tractors on that field. I haven't had the maxed out amount of poultry on that field. I haven't covered it with a thin layer of compost that I produce with my cows. This will just improve all the time. So I saw last year, and I'm seeing it this year already, that I'm way more drought resistant. Now we have had this weather for almost 4 weeks, no rain whatsoever. Pastures all around me are starting to, you know, they're stagnant, they don't grow anymore. Mine are jamming, and I'm much more drought resistant with these methods. I have noticed last year that I doubled my pasture's production. I was much more effective at calculating all of this, you know, and I see this type of farming, and I'm convinced that this is how we can feed the world. Now, another thing is, people say, so when I say we can feed the world, I mean we can produce more food than we can with conventional farming. Years ago I read an article, it was called the Drought Fighter in California, before they now got a bunch of rain in the last years, but that there was such a horrible drought for years in California. And there was a vegetable gardener who basically, you know, did a no-dig garden system, call it Back to Eden, call it whatever you might, but every year he covered it with organic material every spring, and boy did he fight the drought. He had to water significantly less. His growth was unbelievable. Just Google it, Drought Fighter California, it should come up. Awesome article, very inspiring. His yield was so much higher than anybody around him, and he was just covering with organic material. So, you know, if we just change our thinking. We used to have big tractors on our farm. Believe me, we had a 100 horsepower tractor, we had a logging trailer, we had a big round baler, we made silage on our farm, and we've gone away from that. And I'm not saying big machines are bad, but we changed our thinking, and we can do almost everything with our little machines. So it's more about the change of thinking, you know. So you know, can we feed the world? I think that this type of farming that I'm trying to communicate on this channel, not only is there proof on many farms that it is sustainable, that it can produce way far above and beyond what others produce, and if we just would put a little bit of the money that we put into or conventional farming research and stuff, if we would put that into this kind of research, how much more could we reach? So yes, we can produce enough food. Now then there's this other objection. We are not producing enough food as it is. And people want to go to eating insects, and people want to go to eating, you know, artificial meat, grow it, and Richard Dawkins, atheist, even said, you know, then we finally can eat human flesh, and so on. There are all these thoughts, and you know, here's the thing. Right now, most of the food in the world, let's say I know about the States and I know about the European Union, gets thrown away. You won't believe the insane amounts of food that is being dumped. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. A cucumber is not straight enough. A carrot is not long enough. Like, not just that, also in our schools, in our restaurants, everywhere, the amount of food that we throw away. Right now, plenty of food is being produced that we could feed the entire world with what we are producing right now. The problem is the distribution. The food doesn't reach. The food doesn't go there. The food doesn't get there. Now, if you could work on that, great. But what if you could work and teach this kind of farming all over those countries and teach them to fight droughts and teach them to do this, and they can start feeding themselves. Instead, we ship GMOs into those regions. Workers on the fields die. Instead, we ship from the European Union super cheap chicken from our Tyson chicken houses, because we only eat white meat, barely any legs and thighs from the chickens. We ship all of those to Africa and other countries because in Western Europe we just want to eat chicken breast fillet, and so we ship them down there, and thousands of farmers there go out of business because they can't produce healthy chicken for cheaper than this junk chicken that we ship there. And then they commit suicide by the hundreds because they're out of business, because we ship that cheap junk chicken down there. You know, how about we have different kind of goals for what we do? How about less hospital visits for humans? How about more insects on the fields? How about don't kill the bees? How about growing topsoil? How about teaching other countries sustainable agriculture and not influencing them with our industrial, unsustainable or non-sustainable agriculture all the way to those countries? Now, I'm not saying that is all easy. I'm not saying there are no challenges in it. But I'm saying that we need to be open to that approach, and there are great farms and great examples of this all over the world where we can learn from and say, it works, it is doable. If somebody has done it, it's doable. And you can copy that. And there are examples of this from all over the world. And so, you know, this video I hope can really contribute to this discussion. And I know it's not the most exciting video and everything, but I'm really looking forward to having some good exchange about this in the comments section. Not just you know, the kindergarten talk, oh, you're dumb, or blah blah blah. You know, let's have I hope that this channel can really help to raise awareness about this stuff and to encourage people. I'm not against big farms, you know. I wouldn't have a problem running 200 heads of cattle or more, you know, because all these principles that I'm teaching, they're all scalable. I really wouldn't know the limit for it. And I'm not against that, you know. I'm not saying there are no challenges or we do everything right, but I come from the conventional farming and from the industrial organic farming, and I've left that, and I don't believe that that is the answer. I do not believe that, having experienced that and seen that and seeing it all around me right now. So hope that this can really contribute, and it can be a good dialogue. Thanks, bye.